An epitaph on a tombstone of an Italian named Sabrino D'Amato says, "Here lies Sabrino D'Amato of Florence, inventor of spectacles. May God forgive him for his sins." Many of us who wear glasses have often had similar feelings. We can't function without our glasses, and yet they cause us so much difficulty by sliding down our nose, pinching our ears, and the lenses are always getting dirty. Now, for the sake of argument, let's suppose that you were the first individual to come up with the idea of using lenses to improve sight. What do you do now? How would you use these lenses? You could just lay the lens glass down on the book and magnify the print. This might work well for reading Shakespeare, but would not help much if you were trying to read freeway signs while driving 55 miles an hour on the way to work. Well, for obvious reasons, just laying the lens down would not work for different tasks. But then, how would you station the lenses in front of the eyes in order to get the best use of the optics? Well, today the solution to that problem may have its minor difficulties. But 1,200 years ago, when lenses were first used, this was a real significant problem. In Europe, the problem was originally solved by using just the bridge of the nose on which to rest and balance the lenses, similar to the way we do it today. The oldest known frames and lenses were made of wood and glass, respectively. The frames were hollowed out and the lenses inserted. One lens was called a spectacle, and two lenses in a frame were called spectacles. This is the stately British approach. The Italians had their own method. Again, they used both a single lens and two lenses, which they called a doublet. The early Chinese had yet a further approach. They were a bit more conventional, and their frames were very close to our own current frames, but just in front of the ear they bent the temple piece upward instead of downward. Oh well, what can you expect for the 1300s? Nobody's perfect. In about the 1560s, a new dimension was added by the Italians. They believed that the key to keeping the lenses on the face was to form a goggle and tie the leather straps together in the back of the head to hold the lenses in place. Also, there were attempts to tie the lenses around the ears in order to afford a bit more stability while at the same time keeping the lenses in place. Not to be outdone, the Chinese decided to solve the design problem by hanging weights over their ears. This certainly held the lenses on, but they ran into problems with windy days and when shaking their heads. Otherwise, all was fine, although the top of the ears did tend to smart a bit with the addition of all that weight. Another Chinese variation is the spectacle frame that didn't touch the bridge of the nose at all. Instead, it used the center of the forehead as a contact point. Attempts were made at using one's wig or hat to hold the lenses, but both of these designs were fraught with hair-raising experiences. Frustrated, some others eliminated all attempts to attach the lenses to the face and went back to holding the lenses with their hands with fashionable lorgnettes. Hundreds of years passed and lenses became more and more common, especially among the scholars, high officials, and those of wealth. But who was determining all those optical prescriptions? Although the medical community dabbled with corrective lenses, their acceptance was minimal and most shunned their benefits. In 1583, Dr. Gray Bartisch of Dresden, one of the most famous oculists of the 16th century, advised against the use of glasses. He said, it is much better and more useful that one leaves spectacles alone. For naturally, a person sees and recognizes something better when he has nothing in front of his eyes than when he has something there. It is much better that one should preserve his two eyes than that he should have four. Hence the famous nicknames for anyone who wears glasses was born. And one of our unfounded fears about glasses was reinforced. Consequently, much of the eye testing for use with lenses was done by itinerant optical spectacle peddlers, or the spectacle guilds, which began to flourish in England first and then spread to other countries. An examination consisted of basically trial and error. Just keep trying the lenses on until one pair seems to help. If one could not significantly improve his vision, well, he could go with the best available or wait until the next batch of lenses was made. No guarantees were made, and occasionally someone was benefited by a lens which, out of the blind luck, was close to their own inherent refractive problem. But the spectacle peddler did provide a very important and valuable service. He brought affordable eyewear to a segment of the community who prior to this time had no care at all. The only ones who used spectacles prior to this were the educated upper class. The spectacles were even thought of as some sort of merit badge indicating that the person who used them was able to read and consequently a person of some importance. They were even used as a badge of social and educational rank. When a subordinate entered the room of his superior, he was required to take off his specs as an indication of his inferior rank. Many portraits of the day show men holding their glasses in prominent places for all to see, as if they were saying, "Look at me, I'm an educated man." At any rate, the search for the perfect spectacles and lens holders went on. No one individual or country seemed to settle on just the right style. Forehead, head, nose, ears, and hands all seemed worthy of a good old college try. Styles known as Quislers, monocles, and lorgnettes were developed and tried by the public. The lorgnettes were often made from gold, silver, hardwood, ivory, porcelain, enamel, leather, and were highly prized by the upper classes. One example of their use was at the opera. Many a young girl wrote in her diary about being the attention of all the patrons when she walked into the theater. The patrons all raised their lorgnettes in girl watching. By the 1800s, the basic frame design had pretty much settled down to the conventional types we use today. The only slight deviation from this came in the late 1800s with the introduction of the pince-nez style. This name might not ring a bell, but one will instantly recognize them when I mention that Teddy Roosevelt would wear nothing else. His rough and tumble style was not well suited to this rather unstable frame, and perhaps this is why he took 12 pairs of them with him when he went off to the Spanish-American War. A big revolution in eyewear was the development of a new lens called the bifocal. This came about the same time as another revolution in which we Americans were particularly interested, except that the bifocal revolution was not quite as noisy, although some people will declare that it has caused as much fuss. For the first time since corrective lenses had been in use, a person with poor distance vision and poor near vision could wear just one frame and did not have to switch back and forth. The American gentleman that is credited with the invention of bifocals is our own Benjamin Franklin. The Franklin design is basically the same design that is in use today with certain improvements. So the next time you think your glasses are giving you a problem, remember that things are a lot better than they used to be. A visit to the optometrist today will usually be centered around three primary areas of concern. One, the detection of eye disease. Two, an evaluation of just how the two eyes are focusing together. And 3, a check to see if the clearness of vision can be improved through the use of new glasses or contact lenses. Those glasses, which may be at times so annoying, are often a necessity in our current complex world. But then things have changed a lot from the time of Sabrino D'Amato of Florence.